Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, welcome to another comic episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's carrying a book with me tonight?
I am the most boring of the endless. Once again, it's Kenneth Sanity.
Welcome.
And I am Mr. Scared, Chris Dobson of Your Stupid Minds, and some of my friends read comics.
Welcome back. And you were with us when we covered Sandman Dollhouse. Coincidence. So we are here to talk about, because all of a sudden I got the Sandman itch. Took us 2 years to cover book 2, and you'll be hearing book 3 about a month before you hear this episode. I got the kick. So we are here to talk about Sandman Seasons of Mist, which is I'm very excited to talk about. But before we get too far, I have a question for you, Ken.
Mm-hmm.
How many beers do you think I'm going to drink while we're recording?
Ooh, gosh. I'm going to say 5.
2 beers, Ken. 2 beers.
I was going to say, it was written in stone in my book here, too.
Plus, we always got to make that two. My version of the 2 guns joke.
Don't have to, and yet here we are.
I actually didn't. I actually just grabbed 2 beers just because I grabbed 2. I'm like, 2 beers that's plenty. And then I was like, I got to make the joke. So here we are. But so for the first time ever in this show, I actually read a physical trade for an episode that I covered for a book. I know.
Dear God, no.
It was weird. It really was weird. It's not because everything's on my phone because I'm just like, it's not even that I'm cheap. I'm just lazy. I don't care enough to own. I don't care enough to own product like this. Mm. But Sandman, I'm buying the whole series now because
it's very good.
It's good.
It is really good. And it looks really cool on my shelf. And I looked up other books. I'm like, I want to buy the Star Wars book out of print. I'm like, well, we'll just stick with Sandman. So Season of Mist came out. Starts with issue, where is that? 21 to 28 we're going to be talking about. And it came out in December 1990 when it first started this arc. So there will be spoilers. If you haven't listened to our other Sandman stuff, you should. What numbers they are, I don't remember. I'll tell you at the top of the end of the episode. But yeah, go check out our other episodes and then come, or just jump in here. It doesn't matter. Hopefully you already read all of Sandman because we're going to spoil all of this chapter. I think this was very, I didn't know what I was getting myself into with this story. I didn't know where it was going. I had no expectations. And it was very interesting to experience this for the very first time and know nothing.
Yeah, that's how I felt when I read this for the first time, too. We covered this a little bit in the non-recorded preamble, but yeah, it does feel like this is where the comic really becomes itself.
Yeah, I can agree with that. This is very different than, Dollhouse and Preludes. I mean, there's no DC characters, if I remember correctly, in here that pop up. It's all brand new characters.
Well,
we don't have to go into it yet. I mean, sure, we'll get there. But okay, I personally didn't recognize any characters.
Yeah, it's not like the first trade or the second trade where there's a lot of Easter eggs of here's a Jack Kirby character, here's a Alan Moore character, right and left.
Yeah, here's somebody dressed up as the classic Sandman.
That's the Jack Kirby character.
There's none of that here. I mean, it just starts off with a random guy walking in a desert carrying a book, and I have no idea who this character was at first. I mean, I do now, obviously, but it was very interesting to me. I'm like, okay, this isn't Morpheus. This isn't anybody we've been introduced before. It's just a random guy carrying a book talking about how he can see the future or see the past, present, future. I think, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this is Destiny.
Okay.
Destiny is Dream's brother. Dream, death, desire, despair, all the other endless we've met before. This is, I think, the first time we're meeting Destiny, if I'm correct.
I'm pretty sure it is because I don't remember this character at all. Yeah. I think we meet another new character shortly, but I just thought it was very interesting. It got my attention right away where he's just carrying this book and he runs into the Fates, which we did see in the first trade when Sandman's trying to figure out how to get his gear back, where he has to meet up with DC characters that help him because. So it was interesting. I really like the way it starts off. I like the take, and I like the whole idea that he senses something is wrong, so he calls a family dinner.
They showed up in the last trade we reviewed too, didn't they? They showed up and kind of were behind a door that English woman opened up in.
Yep. Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Rose Walker.
Yes. I should remember that. I just watched the show, and they're in the show with Rose Walker. But
so they're kind of. I mean, they're not super important characters, but they're recurring characters.
Yeah, they're around.
And I like them. I like everything where this goes. I thought like the whole like the first issue of this is, you know, with a dinner, that I thought that was really interesting. Like just the way it even starts, like as you just start seeing, because the first person you see that he calls to is Death, and I like how Death comes in more like a 90s outfit, then he makes some kind of comment, and then she changes into a dress looking something from like the 1700s.
Yeah, more formal clothing.
Yeah.
Nice clothes. And then Destiny calls on Dream, who similarly is very spiffied up.
Why does he look like he's from the 1700s?
Well, because that's what the picture looks like.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess, yeah, he can take any form he wants. I mean, they all can, I'm assuming, so.
Yeah. And we'll see later Dream takes a lot of different forms. But yeah, here he's in his like formal best. I do like that he's like, oh, Death, you look all dressed up. You look great. And then she sticks her tongue out at him.
I really like Death.
To be completely honest, I think Death is probably one of the most widely celebrated characters from this series. Like, I know so many people that have an Ankh tattoo because of Death.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Dream can be a difficult character to like sometimes. Death is almost always easy to like.
A lot of times. But
Morpheus is an asshole.
Yes, he really is.
Oh, hardcore.
Like, he is not a good character.
I think he's a good character, but yeah, he's not a good guy.
Okay, yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, I like the character, but yeah, he's an asshole.
Yeah, he's
Not a good dude.
yeah.
No.
But that's the arc of the series. Is he is sort of growing after what happened to him in the first trade.
Yeah, being held captive for a good number of years and unable to do anything makes you really kind of look inside a little bit.
He had time.
Oh, yeah. Nothing but.
Yeah. But no, I really like the growth of Morpheus throughout what I've read so far.
Yep. And this book, well, for reasons we'll get into later, this book is a very, very important book.
Okay. I'm sure I don't know why at this point, but...
Yep. Well, we'll get there.
And then you get introduced to Desire again, which I like Desire. I like the way they do Desire in this, where it's like, it's supposed to be like someone that's trans. I think they do a really good job of that, at least in this, it seemed. Maybe? Or maybe I'm coming off wrong.
Yeah, they're purposely androgynous, where you're like, okay, is this just a very femme man, or is this a womanly or a manly woman? It's very unclear. I understand the casting and everything, but yeah, it's beyond these concepts where it's just like, who knows?
But I think it works
which is
well.
very much the point of Desire. You know, Desire is it's a feeling, and it knows no specific sex or gender. It just exists. So by having them draw Desire like this, like, it just works so well on so many levels.
Very annoying too. A great villain, Desire.
Oh, yes.
I completely forgot when I was watching Sandman about all this stuff with Rose Walker and everything what Desire was doing in Dollhouse. Like, all that was over my head until I'm like, oh yeah, I don't remember any of this.
Oh,
Even though if you listen back to our podcast, you didn't pick up any of it the first reading.
Not surprised. I'm sure in this episode there will be stuff I didn't pick up either in this trade. So is this the first time we see what's the other one? Despair.
No, I think she was in the shadows of the Doll's House.
Okay, I think you're right, because she's in the show too.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't like Despair. I mean, it works well that it's a large person, a large woman, essentially. I think it works well for that idea, but
yeah, not as much of a central character. Even Delirium is more of a central character than Despair.
I don't know anything about Delirium. I didn't understand what was happening.
You'll know more.
Like, I don't... Because they make comments in here during the dinner where Delirium had a different name before, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Delirium used to be Delight, right?
Okay. And then Delirium shows up. It just was very confusing to me. And then I like how they actually have like I think it's like 3 pages of just like a bunch of text about each of the Endless, and then Death is just one sentence. I was really impressed by that.
I'm pretty sure even then, like, everybody know, okay, this is our star.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, Neil Gaiman, I forget who, I think Death is based on an artist that one of them knew, but like, this is the star, like, immediately.
Yeah. Like, I want to say, just looking at Death's design, it's very much Susie Sue from Susie and the Banshees, but I don't know if that's the actual basis.
No idea what you're talking about.
It's old people music, Mike.
Okay. I listen to 70s music.
Okay, it's a little newer than that.
Okay. I used to listen to a lot of Beatles and Eagles and stuff like that, but that was a long time.
You're not goth. You wouldn't understand.
I'm not goth. I like goth girls, but I'm not goth. No. So
There you go. That's pretty goth girl.
Mm-hmm.
And I just the dinner I thought was so cool. Everything that they're doing and like the way that it shows them talking and like how all this whole book all comes from Death making one comment to Morpheus about how much of a asshole he was 10,000 years ago.
Right. Yeah. Desire tries to egg him on, and he like runs off, and then Death's like, actually, Desire's right.
And yeah, because Morpheus was a colossal asshole about that.
Uh-huh.
We covered that. We covered that issue previously, right? In the Doll's House.
Yes, we did.
That random issue. Yeah.
We don't have to go back through and explain who everything is and what's going on.
No, we don't need to. I mean, and all you need to know, plus like what this really says is that he condemned this woman who he loved because she didn't choose him, and he condemned her to hell for the rest of her life to suffer. Or not rest of her life, for all eternity.
And we did cover Not a Story before, but this is Morpheus finally taking command of that, realizing that, you know what, maybe I was a really piece of shit before.
He was. And I do love the last line of this first issue, or like the last couple lines, is you have Destiny saying he is returning to hell. It has begun. Like, I just thought it was really cool. And like just the whole lead up to this idea that he has to go back to hell to get her and bring her back because he fucked up, and he knows he realized he fucked up because of one comment, and just like all like the pebbles they've been leading up to this. In the first arc, you have him see her in hell when he walks by her cell. You have in Dollhouse, you have that one issue where it talks about it. Like, I love all the stuff leading up to this.
It's a very good long form storytelling. I love too. Destiny never explained. He's like, I can't say why we're here. And then when Death comes back, he's like, he left. He had to run off. If you guys want to hang out, and Destiny's like, hang out? Why would I want to do that? Like, this was all just to get Dream out of here.
I just needed to call you guys together, so one of you started talking shit. The other one confirmed it. He's out. I've done my part.
Bye, guys. Get out of here.
Yeah, so he's just like, look, it's 9:00. Get out of my house. I just thought that was really funny because he's just like, he doesn't want to say what it is, but it's like, it was for this. This was all we were trying to set up.
It was really good.
And it worked well.
It did. And then it brings us to the next issue. So I'm impressed by the beginning, this first page of this that like shows you hell, and it shows people being like, or one person being tortured. This is cool to me, like the way they drew it. Like you have a giant monster where the boobs have mouths on them, and the guy is on a fork being eaten by the boobs.
And there's somebody getting their arm ripped out at the shoulder.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, this is from the same writer who gave us the Corinthian.
Yeah.
Who had teeth for eyeballs.
More mouths where there shouldn't be mouths.
Yeah.
I found out I don't like that. I realized that.
There's a reason why the Corinthian's one of my favorite villains ever made.
You don't like mouths and eyes?
Everything about him is just the best.
My opinions on the Corinthian have been logged. Yeah, I do like that it acknowledges it's like, so we have dead people in hell, and then we also have these other things in hell that people call demons, but it's like a weird middle ground where it's like there are these weird things.
They just exist.
They're these all Hieronymus Bosch style monster things that it's hard to go into.
And it's like, and they bring it up later, but like how people are there who want to suffer because of what they did throughout life. They know they deserve it. Like, I think as we'll get into, I thought that's really good. Oh, and this is the first appearance of Matthew, the Raven, which I only know who he is because he's in the show.
Is this the first appearance? Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, he doesn't show up till Season of Mist, which is, after watching the show, just feels so weird that he wasn't there earlier. But originally you had all the DC characters to pull from.
Yeah, so he's a Swamp Thing character. He's the dead husband of Abigail Arcane.
Okay. I have no idea. I only understood one word that you said in that sentence, Swamp Thing.
Abby Arcane, if you ever see the Swamp Thing movie with blanking on her name, I can only remember her from C-Lab.
I don't know if I ever want to see that movie, so.
Yeah,
it's so good.
It's not a great movie, but anyway, yeah, he Swamp Thing falls in love with a white-haired woman who is married to a guy who then is murdered. Who she also he had an addiction problem, so they were on the rocks anyway. And then Swamp Thing, even though he's a monster, gives some fruits to Abigail, and they have sort of sex, even though he's a plant.
I mean, I can I've watched enough TV in my life. I can see it. Somehow. There's ways.
Gross. Anyway.
It's weird. It's weird.
It is.
Okay. Okay, that's cool. I knew he was from Swamp Thing because I've heard people say it before to me, but I didn't know any of what they're actually talking about. Because one of my favorite podcasts, The Comic Conspiracy, he loves Sandman. He was talking about it before, and he's made comments about how Matthew was from Swamp Thing, but none of it clicked.
He's not like a hugely major character. Adrienne Barbeau, that's the C-Lab reference I failed to make earlier.
Ah.
Okay.
She's in Swamp Thing.
That's the original one, not the Return of Swamp Thing.
Yes. She's in Swamp Thing, and then in C-Lab, the captain makes a bunch of jokes about an Adrienne Barbeau bot.
Okay. All right. It was cool, though. I mean, and then you have Cain. It's Cain and Abel, right? Is who it is?
Yes.
Okay, I completely forgot. I forgot about them.
They were in A Doll's House for sure. I think they were in the first,
they are.
In Preludes, or at least one of them.
Yep, in Preludes, too. He goes there to get like the gargoyle from them to get power or something. It was in the show, too.
Yeah, they're major characters. Now, they were also 70s DC characters, or 60s or 70s, because they hosted their own, like, Tales from the Crypt style side stories. So both of them. House of Secrets, House of Mysteries were the two comics that they were the Crypt Keeper.
Okay. House of Mystery, isn't that where Swamp Thing's from, right?
Yes, a version of Swamp Thing first appears in House of Mystery, I think.
Okay. I know his first appearance is... I know what the cover looks like, and I know it's expensive.
Yeah, where it's the girl brushing her hair, and there's like a monster behind her.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, so let's move on, though, into part one, I guess, of Season of Mists.
Yes. I like how he's just sitting on his throne. He calls everybody to him he's telling the dreams that are there, what he's going to do. And I think this is really cool. Like, is this the first time you see the jack-o'-lantern guy? Whatever his name is?
Pumpkinhead?
Yeah, Pumpkinhead.
Yep.
Okay.
I feel like he shows up in the background in an earlier issue. I don't remember.
He doesn't do anything in this. He's just in a panel.
Yeah, he's one of his dreams.
But I liked that he was there, so
yeah, he's like, cool. I'm going to hell. Devil's really mad at me after what happened in trade number 1, so I may not make it back.
But this is something I gotta do. I gotta take responsibility for being an asshole.
And then Matthew's like, well, you'll have the element of surprise, right? He's like, nope, I already sent Cain to tell him I was coming.
Cool.
Which I guess he felt that he had to, but I mean, maybe you shouldn't tell, that the devil that wants to kill you that you're coming. But okay.
Well, Dream is nothing but, proper. He stands constantly on ceremony. Sometimes it's the only platform he has left to stand on, and he's got to do the proper thing.
Okay. I mean, I can get it. Like, I can buy it.
I mean, that first issue sets up, like, Death just shows up as herself, and it's like, fine, I'll dress up. Dream is like, oh, this is a formal meeting, so I'll show up in my formal attire. Like, he's really all about the formal delegates. Like, oh, I'm commuting to you, leader to leader or whatever. He wants to make sure you're on the record.
I mean, I love the build-up, the whole idea, like how terrible things are gonna be, where he's headed, and I also thought the thing with Cain, where Cain goes to hell, and you see a character that I'm pretty sure is in the first book, but didn't register with me very much. The girl with the half her face is gone. I don't remember her name.
Yeah, girl who it's hard to read every line she says because her mouth is not really there.
I just skipped over her paragraphs. I couldn't read them.
But you can't do that. Like, she says some important stuff later.
One of the good things, I'm not going to say you should read it on a .to site, but if you do, one of the top comments on every one of the issues she appears in is just like translating her dialogue, and later translating cursive in issues where there's cursive narration.
Oh god, that cursive was hard.
See, what I do whenever she's on is I hold my tongue and I just say what she's saying.
Yeah, it works if if you kind of say it out loud in your head. You know when she's like, set up, you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah. Get down on your knees. It comes out as get down on hood knees.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll just skip with what I did and just skip it.
Fair enough.
That is cool, though. Okay, I really like that, where like the whole idea is that Cain couldn't be killed by Lucifer, or couldn't be tortured, or he couldn't be damaged, and that's why they sent him there.
Yeah, it's like the one guy that is under God's protection. So in theory, at least, Lucifer is like, well, I don't want to piss off God.
And I'm assuming that's from the Bible too, that part, but I don't remember it.
Yeah.
It is actually.
Okay.
What Lucifer says to him, and the Lord said unto him, therefore, whoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. That's directly from the Bible.
Okay.
He reads King James Bible, not new translations, so that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was confused by all that. I remembered Cain from before, but I didn't know like where he was from exactly. Just that, I mean, I knew it was from the Bible, but I was like, I just couldn't remember. Like, I figured what they were, the reason why he couldn't hurt him was from the Bible. So okay.
Yeah, and his mark is just a angel like halo, which is interesting because that's normally not what you think of. It's like
it's actually the mark that Dr. Manhattan had. No, I'm kidding. It's a circle.
Because Watchmen is connected now. I mean, this isn't connected, so. But.
Yeah, later, not now.
I'm not talking about
it. Doomsday Clock, it all ties into Sanity.
Moving forward.
I do want to read that though someday. But we'll see. All right, and then you have them talking with somebody. I didn't understand who it was. Like he touches some kid or something. Morpheus is with.
Okay, this is the important part.
Okay,
this is important. First off, you got Lyda Hall. She showed up in a past volume. She's actually the daughter of Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor.
Oh.
So that's why I said there's kind of a DC character here.
Okay, that's cool.
Right. Well, and that's the tie-in. So if you remember when the Jack Kirby Sandman showed up and there was the nightmare monsters or whatever, and Sandman's like, they told you were the Sandman? He tells that guy he's actually dead and that they're like living in this dream and takes them out of it. And part of that is the Hippolyta Hall wakes back up and it's like, she's pregnant with the Dream's child.
Yeah, as the guy that was Sandman is this baby's father.
Okay, that's not weird at all. All right.
No, it's not weird.
Yeah, and she's mad at Dream because she thinks he killed her husband, but he's like, no, your husband was already dead. That's not my fault. That I like told him. It's basically like Bruce Willis in Sixth Sense. Like I told him he was already dead, and so he disappeared. That's not my fault.
Okay. And then, so that makes a little more sense. I was very confused by all that, so that didn't really get to me. I did like the small scene where he goes to visit Hob in his dream, and then Hob's like questioning it if it was real or not.
I love that too because Hob is like working a computer for like some 18th century woman, and then he's like, "Wait a second, this is a dream."
Oh, it's so nice for Dream to go see his boyfriend.
I like that, and I like how he wakes up, and then the bottle that he gave him is on the nightstand.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a really cool touch.
And he says, "Old gods in the season of myths, and may each and every one of us always give the devil his due." And he's like, "I don't know why I said any of that."
God, like this whole sequence is just, it's sad. Like the first time I read it, I was like, "Oh man, he's saying goodbye, just in case."
I mean, again, it makes sense. He's going to hell with the devil that he pissed the fuck off. So he's like, yeah, I might not come back from this.
Oh, well.
And then you get to see him put on his good old helmet from book 1, which I could have done without.
I love the helmet.
I don't like it. It bothers me.
Well, it's not supposed to give you the warm and fuzzy.
I think Kelly Jones, we haven't mentioned the art. Most of these are by Kelly Jones, who did the Batman Nightfall. That's the only other thing I know him from. Covers, which are very like Batman with gigantic horns and everything looking crazy. I think his art is well suited for this. Like everything looks crazy.
Oh yeah. Like if I could get a cloak like Morpheus has, I would wear it all the time. Like just
show up to work, just wrapped in a cloak.
Yeah, just like this cape with all these tendrils coming off. Like I would never take that off. I would wear it everywhere I go because it would just look so badass.
And then the next issue, he's heading to hell, and I like that, just everything it looks. I love the drawing of the gates of hell. I thought that was really cool. Like this.
Oh, that is amazing. Like it's really good. Really biomechanical about this. It reminds me a lot of H.R. Geiger's work.
Okay, I see the biomechanical.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like what artist it really reminded me of. It's hard to say. Like maybe Mobius. Like it's there's just it doesn't look like normal comic book art.
Yeah, it also has some elements of Vladislav Brzezinski, who is a very awesome artist if you've never heard of him. Oh, so good. But it's creepy. It's super creepy.
I mean, there's a lot of Hieronymus Bosch throughout Hell, but not particularly in this issue. Just every hellscape seems to be paying a lot to that.
Oh, yeah. So many good, great, fucked up artists went into this depiction of Hell.
They do a really good job with Hell in this. Like, I mean, I got to kick how he heads to the cell that you see from the first trade, and she's not there anymore.
Yep.
And he has his Khan moment. He's yelling into the sky, shaking his fist.
See, I read that and I thought of Archer because Nada kind of rhymes with Lana.
Oh, anytime I see that, I just hear Khan. Star Trek.
And this is when Morpheus starts to realize that it's not just Nada. Everybody's gone.
That's what makes
So what do? You call the boss. And Lucifer shows up. And at first, Morpheus refuses to take off his helmet, that shows how nervous he is around Lucifer. And Lucifer gives his word that he will not do anything to harm Morpheus. Morpheus takes off the helmet, and they talk.
It's crazy, because you're like expecting this big, action issue, and they're like, nope.
Lucifer just says, I quit.
I like that. I like how he's just like, yeah, we're just going around. I'm kicking everybody out of hell that's here still. There's only a few people left that just won't leave, but they got to go.
Yeah. I've been doing this long enough. I'm tired of it. And I love Morpheus' reaction. It's like 3 pictures across the top of the page. It's like, what? Wait a minute. What?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's very accurate.
Can you do this? And apparently, yeah.
So me being the history buff that I am, I had to look up this guy because I was curious if this was based on a real life person. Because he goes to a rock to some guy that's chained to a rock that gets murdered all the time and has all these chains in him and hooks in him and nails. And he's like, I have to be here. This is my punishment. And he starts saying, his crimes. And I was curious if the country was real, but there's nothing of him being real. So I was just curious.
Well, every once in a while, history does have those people that are so bad they get erased from the history books.
I mean, this sounded plausible. As a guy who's read enough history, it sounded very plausible.
And I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen, what is it? Orgasmo? But just the way he kept repeating his name, I am Brescia. It reminded me of the guy in Orgasmo that's just constantly like, I am Sancho. But it sounds like I'm the only person who's seen that or who will admit to seeing it. So
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Check it out. It's fun. Good, wholesome movie. But this really goes into the whole most of hell. What hell really is for these people who have been taught to think that they have to punish, that they have to suffer for their sins. They did bad things in life, and they have to face that punishment for eternity. And it's funny because I was thinking during this, and I was like, you know what? Lucifer never asked for this. He was just cast down. All these people just started coming, and he was just like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. I don't have enough chairs. I don't have enough chairs. Damn it. Oh God. Oh no.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's been, I guess, a year and a half now, but having played a lot of Hades back when the pandemic was still somewhat fresh.
I love that game.
It is just like it makes you think about just like, yeah, it's kind of a shitty job, and but someone has to do it, like everybody has to deal with this side of things. And in Greek mythology, obviously it's Hades, but that's kind of part of that story is like figuring out like why and what's going on. And so, yeah, that's kind of Lucifer's like, I'm tired of this. Nobody cares, dude. Like you killed some people, but nobody even knows like what country you're from. So you can go.
And then you see him talking to some weird demon creatures too that are down there that don't want to leave either. Like it's very cool. And then you get the whole story of how Lucifer, like you guys are saying, were cast away, and he's like, here you go. All I have to do is lock a few doors, and you see some pretty good drawings, I feel, of just like some of the torture chambers and things and different areas of just locking doors. I thought that was really interesting. And then finally it gets to the point where he locks the gates and he hands him the key. But here you go. That was really cool.
He makes it clear he's just like, this is how I'm getting revenge on you. This is just to mess with you. That I'm putting this in your hands because I don't want to do it. And now I know you'll take it seriously enough that you'll do it for me.
What I really appreciate is that there's a scene where they walk through like an office. And it's like Lucifer's office. There's like a computer. It looks like there's a nice rug, a good chair, maybe a mahogany desk.
I didn't catch that. But yeah, you are right. The chair has faces on it, but okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Like,
yeah, and then he has Morpheus cut his wings off.
Oof.
That just looks painful.
And so, like I said, this is more similar, I guess, to Greek mythology in a way, because it's just like everybody comes here, but because everybody's Christian, I guess, they're thinking it's because of, a Christian stuff. But it's like, no, they're just going to be here. Like, they're just dead. So I didn't tell them that they had to do wrong things. I didn't tell them any of this. They just decided to come here.
Yeah. No, it was never said they have to suffer. They just started doing that. There was never a war on heaven. I rebelled, but I didn't expect everybody else to listen to me. What the fuck?
It also seems like all the demons are down with it. They're like, look, we wanted to torture people. It's fun.
Yeah.
And then that brings us to the next issue where you get introduced to Odin. This is really cool. So I don't know Norse mythology very well, but I do know Marvel. And I know Marvel Thor, and this is not Marvel Odin, but it's very interesting. I didn't even realize that Thor and Odin and Loki were in DC Comics. I mean, it makes sense, but I never really thought about it.
Well, that's the nice thing about mythology. Nobody really owns a copyright on them.
I mean, you can't say, oh, hey, we have a copyright on Thor. It's like, this is just from mythology.
Yeah.
And you're not calling your book Thor. You can't do that, unfortunately.
But hey, if you want to know more about Norse mythology, you can go read Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman.
Sure.
Okay.
American Gods by Neil Gaiman.
Yes.
And then the first time you see Loki, like this whole... So at first when I saw the scene, it shows a woman, a snake, and a guy tied down with venom dripping into his face whenever the girl walks away to dump it. And I thought it was like a play on Adam and Eve, like what they were going for with the snake. And maybe that is like the North version of it or something.
You really don't follow Norse mythology because
not at all.
This is straight out of Norse mythology.
Okay, that's cool. That's really cool. And the whole thing is Odin needs Loki because he's going to go confront Sandman, you find out, which is coming up soon. So he ends up rescuing Loki, essentially.
And the snake and the woman just wait.
Yeah.
And he'll be back.
No.
Sure, sort of.
And guess what goes back?
And you get introduced to Thor, too. And I like how Thor has a little hammer.
Well, it gets bigger if he wants it.
It does. He mentions it a few times.
It was just really weird to me because, I have a certain vision of Thor and Loki, and this was not it.
Yeah. No, it's not. And that's why I think, everybody should go out and read Norse mythology because these are not the gods that you're used to. The actual versions of them are a lot rougher, more dicks.
Yeah, I mean, Hercules in Marvel Comics was kind of introduced in Marvel just to be like what Thor is like in mythology. Like he's the drunken oaf to kind of counteract Thor being so noble in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then the next page you see... Oh, wait, I skipped a couple pages, I see. Okay, then you have Chaos and Order talking, and then this is when you have Death ends up talking with Morpheus and starts telling him that the dead are coming back because all the dead were kicked out of hell.
And it's just like they said in Dawn of the Dead, when there's no room left in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
The original one's a good movie. I like the original a lot. And I love these panels like they have. You have the two angels that are coming down from heaven. You have three of the demon kind that show up, and then you also have Nadia, who they have wrapped up in thorns and barbed wire. And then you have all these different characters that are going to be coming to him, and it starts showing. Everybody's arriving at his castle, and I really got a kick out of this because at the front gate you have the Griffin, the Pegasus, and the dragon like you have in Dream Country with the cat, with that great cat issue.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, that was a good issue.
Yeah, they reference it more.
I really like that issue. I really like that animated episode too. That's here nor there. So it was really cool to me. I mean, I love seeing the group of people that show up. You have a couple I didn't recognize. Like, you have the Egyptian gods that show up, Anubis, which I recognized. I didn't know who, like, what religion or belief the thing with the shallow brigade was. The one with the balloon, the like little girl.
Oh, that's chaos, right?
Yeah.
And I'm
not
assuming
from
the
mythology, just from order and chaos.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and that's what the
like Kilderkin, who's a manifestation of order, and then you have Shivering Gemmy, who is Princess of Chaos.
Oh, okay.
So it's not just mythology that wants a piece of hell. It is vague concepts that want to take over hell as well.
Okay. It's a very cool panel seeing these characters show up that you've never been introduced to that just are there.
Well, with one exception.
As the demons, you mean?
Yep, good old Chronozon coming back for more.
I did like that they brought him back. I thought that was cool.
And that dude can wear a suit, like for real. But then you also have the angels. They're not there to get a piece of hell. They are only there to observe.
Sure they're not.
And Dream welcomes them in.
And then I think he tells them, like, oh, yeah, everybody, we show you to your rooms and then we'll talk tomorrow.
Yep.
And this is where it got really weird in chapter 4, where I didn't understand what the fuck was happening for a little bit. So,
chapter 4 is so good.
Because it's just such it takes a jump away from what's been going on, and you end up in this random attic with with a kid laying on the floor talking to another kid. That it took a second before I realized the other kid's dead.
Yep. The other kid's dead because the dead are coming back to life. And this is what the world is dealing with while hell is not occupied.
I just gotta say, Sandman is really fucked up the world that they're in. Like in the first arc, you have Dr. Destiny, right?
Yeah.
Where he goes crazy and starts turning everybody, against each other, and the world's getting ruined. And then here you have the dead coming back to life.
Yep.
Like, some fucked up things happen to people.
Yeah, and it's fine. At least Shakespeare didn't lose his kid or anything. Oh shit! Wait.
God, that was a good issue.
Oh, so good.
When I was at that Ren Fest and I was at a Renaissance Fest in Minnesota, I saw the sign that said Midsummer Nights, and immediately Sandman came to my head. I'm like,
I trust you avoided it like the plague. Because
I did not go to that. No, I did not see it. I only saw the Tortuga Twins. The only show I watched. So.
Fair enough.
But no, it's just, and just the way they draw, like they have this kid's at school because his dad didn't come pick him up, or he doesn't have parents. I don't remember. But the way they draw
it, held hostage in Kuwait, actually.
Oh yeah, that's what they say. Okay.
Yep.
But everybody looks so, like the woman, the way they draw the characters in this, they just look evil and ugly.
Well, they're 1%ers, so of course they're.
It does make sense. I really like, there's a couple panels here where you see him laying in bed, and he says, even when you're alone, you're not alone, and he's the only kid in the bed, but across from him are a bunch of ghosts sleeping in bed. I mean, it's pretty fucked up. Like, you just all these different kids that died at the school are just walking around. And this is even before he meets up with the kid that was with him in the attic. Because this is all like leading up to that.
Headmaster's mother comes back, and
there's a really weird
kids.
There's a weird scene with that. Oh, it gets fucking strange though. Like the mother thing was also weird too. That was really, it gets stranger, but that was really weird.
Yep.
It felt like they were trying to insinuate things that I wasn't sure I was okay with. So I know I wasn't okay with later on, especially when they started insinuating. And then you have another really creepy one where you have this woman holding two babies that died, and one was one that died before it was born, and it's misshapen,
not a good time.
Yeah.
And Charles just takes off. He doesn't like what's going on here.
I don't either.
Really kind of fucking everything up. And eventually, some dead bullies come to bother Charles.
Well, I mean, first he gets told he meets the dead ghost, right? And he's like, or I guess no, in order, it's later that he meets the bullies first. But we find out that the bullies had killed his friend first before we flash back to the bullies attacking him.
Oh boy, it's just dark, and the way they draw the ghosts, they don't have any pupils. Just white-eyed. They look like they've definitely seen better days. Well, because, dead.
I like that the ghost headmaster is like, you guys killed that boy, didn't you? And they're like, no, we didn't.
the headmaster's like, and he's like, all these dead kids just sitting there with him, and he hits one in the back of the head, and the eye comes out. Like, it's just creepy as fuck too. And all I could think of is what would be the effect on the world, like in the other DC comics, if this was part of it still, even though it's not at this point. I feel like it's very separate.
I am really glad that we never got that, because nowadays, if they had like it would become Doomsday Clock.
Yeah, I mean, DC was already doing yearly events by 1991. But yeah, I don't think they did one for Sandman. That would have been a little much.
Yeah, like this, it's too big of a story to loop other things in.
Agreed. I did laugh at the scene when you haven't taken a bath or swimming in the cold lake because the cold doesn't affect them, and there's no food in the kitchen really, and they tortured the fuck out of him though in this. Like I was watching this. It looks like, are they holding him against the grill that's on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
An oven that's turned on.
And then they pierce his nipple.
Yep.
But I feel like being burned would be a lot worse than having your nipple pierced, though. Pretty sure.
Well,
I mean, one kills him.
Yeah.
I'm assuming not the nipple pierce.
Well, it was a combination probably of everything that kills him.
Yeah, it is pretty fucked up. They just murder the damn kid. I mean... And this is when you see Death shows up to come get him, and she's like, I don't have time for this. I'm too busy. But the way she looks, I really like the fact that she's wearing like a jogging suit.
Oh, yeah. This is prime, like, late 80s, early 90s aerobics class chic.
Oh, I just got a reference I didn't understand before. So it shows them leaving the attic, and he leaves his dead body there. And they walk by the headmaster's room, and it looks like the headmaster is floating, that he was killed. Not the headmaster, the guy that was there before. Whoever he was. He's naked, and he's something about... Yeah. It just looks weird.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't realize he's floating, so I think he's dead. I think
Yep.
She killed him. Okay.
Probably.
And then I wonder if is this ever touched on again? Because the kids leave the school and run off.
Yes.
The dead guys.
It becomes just like the last issue is a setup for the Lucifer series. This is a setup for, what's it called? The Children's Crusade, I think.
Okay. I have no idea what that is. Okay. That's cool, though. It's a setup for something, though. Is Children's Crusade a Sandman thing, or just something else?
It's basically a limited series. It's 7 issues of Vertigo stuff that's with these 2 kids.
Oh, okay. So I never need to read it, what you're telling me?
I mean, Neil Gaiman works on it.
Oh, okay.
So it's one of many Sandman adjacent things.
Okay.
Like the show Lucifer, we have Sandman to thank for that. Because Morpheus freedom, basically allowed him to be freed from hell. So, that he can go off and have his detective adventures.
Yeah, it looks like you probably don't need to read it because it is set up. They show up in a bunch of other Vertigo books. So even though Gaiman works on a couple of the issues, there's also just like, they show up in Doom Patrol. They show up in Animal Man. Like they're just, it's a crossover of these characters.
Okay.
And, let these dead children have their adventure.
Okay, maybe I doubt I'll read it, but, and then you have everyone this is when you have the Fae show up, which the Fae were the ones from the Midsummer Night's Dream, correct? I don't think it's the same characters,
right.
But.
No.
They mentioned Titania from Midsummer Night's Dream, the play, is their boss.
And then you have everybody sitting down at the banquet, and I like how the fact you have different people eating different foods, which, makes sense, of course. But I thought that was really cool.
Yep, and you have Odin hitting on Bast pretty hard.
Thor, right?
Or Thor, yeah, I'm sorry.
Which fits.
Yeah.
I think Anubis is eating a human heart. You have the Princess of Chaos is eating, like, ice cream, I think.
Yep.
Oh, it was just a very cool little scene. And I like seeing all these characters, and I like the fact that they're all trying to... double cross each other essentially where, even though he said like, hey, I'm not going to talk to you till tomorrow, yet every single character of these different envoys is like, hey, I want to talk to you tonight and make a deal.
And he says, all right, go to your room and we'll talk. And he tells everybody this who approaches him.
Everyone the same thing. And you have one page with like out of 9 panels of, is it Chorzon, the guy from the first arc?
Yep.
He's trying to have sex with lady spiders, and all of a sudden these spiders wrap him up in a web. And she's like, "Yeah, you're part of the gift." To barter,
which is cold-blooded.
Hey, he fits the demons though.
Yeah,
and we get the other various people have offers for them, but let's see. So Bast is like, "I know where your brother is, the missing Endless."
Oh,
And then who else? A few of them are like, we're offering stuff. And he's like, we'll talk about it later.
Yep. Odin offers an aspect of Morpheus' soul.
Right.
Just a small sliver. Chaos threatens him.
I like how Chaos just becomes like this giant monster. And then she gives him the balloon. All I can think of was Pennywise.
Fair enough.
I like how I like how whenever Order talks to him, it's always just a letter that comes out of the cardboard box.
Yep. And it's very proper, very well typed out. Yeah. It is very orderly.
It's like a fortune cookie. It's also one of the angels just gets like direct messages from God, so he just kind of like lights up, but he doesn't talk. And so he's kind of similar to Order, who just doesn't, their emissary doesn't talk. He just gives him fortune cookies.
And everybody pretty much just gives Dream the ultimatum. And then, of course, Matthew comes in and gets a balloon.
I did like that. I thought it was amusing.
Yeah, I did like, he's like, what am I going to do with the balloon? And then the next panel is just him flying off with the balloon. He's like, whatever.
And is this the first arc where you see Aziel?
I
can't remember if it was in Dollhouse or...
I feel like it's
the first trade.
Yeah, I don't think so. At least not this big.
He's all mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in the end of the show. And that's why, which is to lead up to this arc, essentially. So that's why I was like, okay, I couldn't remember. But Aziel wants to give him Chorzan, which is the guy who he best in the first, and he wants to give him Nadia, who he took from Hell and has her tied up in exchange for Hell. And if I'm reading this right, or looking at this right, in the last panel, it shows him drop the key in the ground. He tries to destroy it, right? Tries to step on it.
He at least seems to be thinking about it, but he's like, no, I have to do what's right, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought he stepped on it and just reformed. But maybe I'm just looking at it differently.
That may well be, actually.
It's hard to tell, because you see him stepping in, you see the key drop, you see his foot, and there's like blackness underneath his foot, and then you have the key next to it. Yeah, like
dust, and the key's there.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't.
Of course, he's Dream. He can't just abandon a responsibility once it's been put on him.
Yeah.
This is fucking Dream.
And this brings us to episode 6, which starts off with the Fae, who you haven't seen earlier, who didn't meet. I don't think the Fae met with him, but he came there to give away his sister was going to be part of the price to get Hell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's interesting. You have people talking, and every time that they get near her, or she hears them, everybody stops talking because they don't want her to hear what everyone's plotting against each other. And then you see. I'm assuming this is not actually Loki, is it? When you have Thor grab Loki because he tries to talk, or is this still Loki?
No, that's Loki.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's during the Azazel stuff that it happens.
Okay. All right. You get a really cool page spread of just the giant hall that they're in and all the characters that are there, and I like how Chaos has more balloons now.
Because of course.
And I do have to say, trying to read the angels speak on your phone is really hard, by the way, because I read. Most of this in trade, but then I was at a bar and I couldn't read it, so I had to read it on my phone. It was not fun. But I think it's cool, though, that everybody talks, you have so many different fonts. And I really got a kick out of the fact that you have the angels were told by God they have to take Hell. And they don't want to. They're like, well, why? We served you, we've served you. We've done what you wanted. Why are you casting us to Hell? Like, we didn't rebel. We don't deserve this. I thought that was really cool.
And, it's one of those things where, there has to be a Hell and somebody has to be in charge. So this is heaven putting it basically under its own command again.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
From a biblical point and story point.
Yeah, it's controlled opposition.
Yeah. Because, if you don't have, they even say in here, if you don't have a Hell, then what's the point of heaven?
Yep.
You don't have something terrible on the other side.
Yeah, I do like that the angel that talks, Remiel, immediately has the whole Jesus crisis or whatever, where he's just like, how can I do this? I'm gonna have to rebel just like Lucifer, but I don't know if I can. And you're just like, come on, man, how this is going, right?
He doesn't like how it's going.
And then Duma just takes the key.
Yeah, Duma, who's the silent angel, is like, yeah, I'll do it. he knows it.
And then Remiel's like, well, I can't let my boy go down there alone, so I'm going.
I like how it pisses off some of them, but not all of them. So I'm like, yeah, that's fine. As long as nobody else got it, I don't care that they have it. I'm okay with that. But you have Aziel, whatever you pronounce him, he gets furious with Dream.
I do wonder, they mentioned the Greek mythology. I wonder if it's a reference to Wonder Woman that they aren't here. Because, like, I wonder if they know something. I'm like, well, they're the ones that are actually showing up in comics around this time. Because George Perez's Wonder Woman is, I think, 88 or 89. And he heavily features the Greek gods during his run. So I wonder if they're like, we don't want to bring those, like, his versions in.
Oh, okay. That would make sense. Because there is no Zeus.
Besides, what use do the Greeks have? They already have their own hell.
Yeah, but I mean, so does the Norse, but they apparently want their own second hell, to rent out.
I mean, I guess it makes sense. You have one, you need a couple.
They have hell with one L. Now they want one with two.
Yeah. I mean, 2 L's is better. That's basic math.
2 L's, Ken. 2 L's.
Fuck off.
You started, not me on that one.
Yeah, that was my fault this time.
And then when Sandman goes inside Aziel and he says, "Hey, if you find the couple of victims I have, I'll let you go." And I like how Aziel thinks he's gonna fuck with him. Like he finds Corzon, he finds what the hell's her name? Nadia. Nada. And then he's like, "I lied." He's like, "You're not leaving," and he tries to eat him. And I like how he's like, "What do you think? You're in my realm. What are you gonna do?"
You stupid bastard.
Like, I really like that. Like, I'm also thinking, I mean, I guess it makes sense because he is a demon, so he wasn't thinking. But, like, what is he going to do? Fuck with Dream in his world. And then he puts him inside a bottle. And then you see him put him inside a chest. And at the same point in the chest, you also see Corinthian's skull, which made me smile.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't that Bottle City something from an earlier arc, too?
Yeah, it's the Baghdad from the Dreams, right? I forget which arc that was, but I'm pretty sure there's a Dream of Baghdad issue.
I think you're right. In like Dollhouse. Yep. I think it was Dollhouse. I need to reread Sandman, the early stuff.
Well, now that you got all these trades, you can just do it.
I might actually, because my job gets quiet some days, and when I'm all caught up reading, it's one of the things I can do.
And Dream is just like, I bet you're wishing you hadn't renounced my hospitality like 5 minutes ago, don't you?
Well, now you're in the jar. So you can fuck right off.
And I like how they're all happy with him. Pretty much like, yeah, that's fine. Like we can live with this. Like nobody's upset that he did what he did.
Yeah, I mean, all of these, none of them can be like, oh, I'm going to fight God on this one. They're all like, yeah, all right, fine. I guess if anybody gets it, it should be him.
And I just thought that was really good. And then we bring to the last issue where the first thing you see is all the demons and all the spirits marching back to hell.
And the demons are like, well, we're going to go back anyway, so this worked out for us, actually. Like, we can get our jobs back, probably.
Sweet.
We can torture people again. Yeah.
And it's heaven, so maybe there's better benefits.
It's cool. And then seeing Sandman, I also like how they change Sandman's drawing, based on who he's talking to. Like, when he's talking to Nada, you see him as the African dream god. I really like that.
Mm-hmm. And this is where you finally get them hashing it out.
I think this is good, where he finally admits that he fucked up, and he admits that. I like how she slaps him. This is the man that had her tortured for an eternity, and she's like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, I love how bad his first apology is. He's like, "I may have been a little too hasty." Just like, may have.
Mm-hmm. I should perhaps apologize.
But it was just really good. It was a really cool thing, and I was wondering what he was going to do to help her, to get back for what he did. And I really like where it goes shortly. But then you see the Japanese god that we didn't mention was actually Loki in disguise.
Yeah, Loki gets dragged off where he's like, "Wait, this is wrong," and Thor's like, "Shut up, we're going, Loki."
I assume he puts him back in the hole, then, correct? But they don't say, maybe.
Well,
they don't say in this.
Okay.
Yeah, they put the fake Loki in
the hole.
The torture hole.
It'd be fucking terrible. Just have a snake venom drip on you all the time.
Yeah.
That would be annoying.
It's like
and then this is when you have
a boulder that rolls back downhill. Annoying.
I know that story. No matter how many pushes up, it comes right back down.
Yeah, annoying. No, thank you.
Or having a bird eat your liver and then it grows back every day just for the bird to do it again. Ugh.
Yeah, gets old.
And then you have the Fae where the sister isn't allowed to leave with him, and then he does some kind of, I guess, Sandman does it, where all of a sudden she changes how she looks. I didn't really understand that.
Yeah, they look like Lord of the Rings elves. And then he's like, look, you can stay, but you can't keep your glamour up. Like, you have to look like you really look. And then she doesn't look like a Lord of the Rings elf. She looks more like a, like, I don't know, some other fantasy elf where she's got, like, big ears, but isn't, like, the statuesque blonde. She's, like, a weird-looking, you know, like, fey forest creature.
Yeah, kind of a mousy brown hair.
And then I was really confused at first because then it shows Sandman walking with Nada, and he, you know, tells her that he's going to help her. I don't think he actually says what he's going to do.
Nope.
Okay, and then you see the next scene where a baby is being born, and then he goes over to the baby and says, you know, I will never forget you. And he pretty much let her live another life to make up for what he did. I like that.
Not quite good enough.
No, but something.
Yeah.
It is like immediately what I assumed would happen in my first read. I'm like, well, she'll be like reincarnated, right? Because we've already seen other characters like kind of do that. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of seems obvious that that's where we're going.
Yeah, I would agree. And then I was very confused at this part, but I read this in a bar quickly, and I got to this, and all of a sudden you have like this random guy sitting on a bench in Australia and talking to some old guy. And I didn't realize who that was at first. It took me longer than it should have.
Just parking it in the sun, enjoying a sunset.
I really like that. I like that Lucifer. This is what Lucifer's doing now. He's no longer in charge of hell. He's just enjoying the sun.
Hanging out in Australia.
Yep. Just doing his thing. Must be nice.
And then you see a few scenes of hell and people being back to the torture and everything back to the way it was.
And then the Remiel is like, no, guys, we're not torturing to punish people. We're helping them.
Oh my God, I love that so much.
I like the idea of it, though. Like, I get it. I think it's cool. I think it's a cool idea of hell, that you're there in, you know, maybe that's the real idea, too. I don't read books called the Bible, that the idea that you're going to this place to, you know, pay for your sins, and essentially like the tortures you're doing is to repent for what you did. Maybe that's how it's supposed to be in the Bible.
It's more of a redemptive thing.
Yeah.
I mean, hell's not really in the New Testament, but like maybe 2 or 3 times at all. So it's kind of a Christian later invention anyway.
Okay. I have a copy of the Bible to my left. It makes a great stand to put my monitor on, so I can raise my monitor up a little bit higher. Because when I've got my new monitor for work, I'm like, I need to put something underneath it to raise it a little higher. I'm like, what do I have? And I'm like, oh, I have a Bible. And turned out the Bible's the perfect size.
Yeah, I use Chris Claremont's Essential X-Men. Just as thick.
But probably more entertaining.
All right. See, I like religion. I'm not a religious person, but they got some good stories. And this whole idea of a hell that isn't just suffering without reason. Now it is, you know, hey, we are going to hurt you and we're not sorry. We're doing it to redeem you. We love you. And that's why this is happening. And the torture people are just like, that makes it just so much worse. Like, that's very much, that is just, that's rough, man. That's fucking rough.
Because it's just like, when is it enough? You know, like there's not a counter that's filling up where you're like, oh, okay, I've been tortured 1,000 times. I can go to heaven now. It's like, no.
No, it doesn't end.
Yeah, you're just like, well, am I good enough? I guess I'm not.
And Remiel is enjoying this.
Yeah, because he's deluded.
Yeah.
I like that.
He didn't want to go. He refused. He almost rebelled against God to avoid this. But once you get him there, he's like, nah, it's actually pretty dope, actually. I'm having a good time.
Let's kill some people.
It's good. I like these screams. It's fun.
But yeah, like I said, it's funny because having played, you know, Hades, you kind of were like, well, and this book addressed it too. It's like, there is a job, which is not let the dead people out. And it's like, that's kind of job one. The rest of it, you can kind of decide how you want to do it. You can be like, oh, this guy gets it nicer or worse than this other guy. But it seems like that's the main thing, is the dead don't get to come back.
That doesn't seem to be a good thing if they do.
No, then you get murdered school children. And
who murder other school children.
All sorts of icky, gross things.
All right, and then the very last page of this book is Destiny carrying the book, and inside the book you see exactly everything that happened, pretty much. Well,
and he just continues walking through his garden.
And that's the end of Season of Mist.
Remiel thinking happily ever after in hell.
Oh.
Now I really want to read A Game of You. So
this is really setting the table. This is like all the important characters. I mean, I think by this point, pretty much everyone. Well, has Orpheus already showed up by this point, or is he in the next arc?
I don't recognize that name.
Next arc.
Okay, so that's the last. Well, I mean, there might be one or two other minor characters, but important characters that show up. I mean, it's a 75 issue run, so they're not going to keep introducing new characters forever. We've met most of the ones that meet.
And we didn't really touch on Daniel at all, but you will see Daniel again.
That was the baby.
Yep.
Oh, the one that he takes?
Yeah, the one where he's I didn't kill this kid's dad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I look forward to it.
I wouldn't look forward to it.
I'm ordering 2 more trades as we're talking, so hey.
I think is it the Emperor Norton issue? There's an issue very soon after this where Desire is I'm gonna get that dream.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick of Dream lording it over us.
There's an issue called Bad Moon Rising that name has my attention.
There's A Game of You is great. There's so many great stories coming up here.
Oh, it won't be long. We're going to end up reading, because of the show, I got the itch to go back. We're going to end up reading the entire series probably and record about it pretty quickly. So
fantastic.
Because I can't stop. So I can't help myself. I normally don't get into comics like this. This is the first time since I've done this show with comics where I'm we're reading the whole damn art, the whole thing.
It is.
It's not that long.
Yeah, it's very good long form storytelling, but part of it is that he does have an end point, and I don't know if by this point he does, but pretty soon he very clearly has an end point in mind. I think he probably already does by this.
I think he does too, because the pieces are moving.
Yeah.
Should I bother with the 4 novellas: Midnight Theater, Dream Hunters, Endless Nights, and Overture?
I've not read them, so I can't say.
Okay. I'm a long way off before it will matter, but I'm just curious if those are things that I should also pick up.
Technically, you can stop after book 10. That's the
Wake.
That's the mainline story. Other stuff is explained in Endless Nights and Dream Hunters and all that, but the main story ends after volume 10.
Okay. All right, we'll see what happens then when I get there. See if I'm I need more.
And there's a lot of other Sandman media out there. There are offshoots.
Yeah, it has stuff in here. The Dreamy, Waking Hours, Hell and Gone, Nightmare Country. But I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there. And, if you like this, you really should read American Gods. You really should read Anansi Boys.
American Gods is a novel, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I like my books with pictures in it, sir.
Well,
it's also a 1-season show if you want to get the gist of it.
Does it cover the whole book then?
No.
No, it was a canceled thing where they're we're
American Gods, but nobody really talks about the other 2.
I may have to check it out at some point. I've heard about it.
But there is American Gods graphic novel as well.
Okay.
They did make comics for it.
All right. You have my attention then, sir.
You read Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, honestly, because it's not that long. It's so much of Sandman sort of clicks into place when you read that. You're like, oh, he was really borrowing a lot from that, wasn't he?
Yep, I agree.
In both style and the sort of themes and kind of everything about it, very similar. But Swamp Thing is its own thing, and it's also like this. It is only meant to go 50 issues, and then it's over.
Okay. I've always been meaning to read that one too. When we first put together the comic issues with one of my previous co-hosts, he'd wanted to read some of that Swamp Thing also. We just never got around to it.
It's very good. I think the anatomy lesson is in the first trade. If not, it's at the beginning of the second. But that's when it starts getting really good.
Okay. All right, we shall see what happens, because I might just end up reading. I mean, at this point, I can kind of tell you that the whole Sandman will be finished within a few. Yeah, it might all be recorded in a few months.
Which is fine.
It's just weird for me. I don't finish things that often, and I just can't. I can't stop with this. So But I already know what my episode 50 for comics will be. So, and if you want to hear our other Sandman, Comic 4, Sandman Preludes and Nocturnes, and Sandman Dollhouse is Comic 31. And I can't tell you what Dream Country is because it hasn't released yet. So, but it will be by the time you hear this. So,
well, I hope so.
It will. All right, and we should go to Shelf Stack or Box. And Kenneth, why don't you go first?
I don't even know why we're doing this. Obviously, it's going on the shelf. That's where it currently sits in my bedroom, on a shelf, in absolute form.
And
absolute Sandman.
What about you, Chris?
I don't currently have a physical copy, but I agree this is a shelf comic. If you don't, and we didn't mention it, I mentioned it off air. If you don't want to spend the money to buy this comic, I do definitely recommend check your local library. If you're in a town with a decent sized library system, you can get some copies of Sandman. Like, it is one of the first things that a good comics library needs to have. And so it seems like there's always copies of everything. And it's not always, a lot of libraries now have like a teen section that'll have comics and manga. It may not be there because it is not really for teens. I mean, it is, but there's also a lot of nudity and gross stuff. So it's more for older teens. So it may be in the actual stacks.
And if your library doesn't have it, just do like good old Ken did and annoy them until they get it.
Or do what I normally do and go surfing the web. You'll find it too. I mean, hey, look at me. I sailed the seas, and now I just bought 2 more volumes while we're talking that I didn't mean to buy, but they're in my cart and they're being shipped to my house now. So,
but I will say, like I said, this is a series I think it's better to read the physical copy. I didn't this time. I have read this enough times that I know what happens, and I don't feel like I'm losing. Like, I remember what reading all of this in actual trades is, but yeah, your library has them. They're very good. Read them that way and not on your phone.
Yeah. You have to read. I also recommend reading this physically too. I mean, it was a much better experience than on my phone. It was real. Like for part of this volume, I sat outside on my patio and just sat there reading this in a chair. It was a really nice experience over the cat crying at me that wanted to come outside. So, but that's my own personal fault. So, but yeah, no, reading a trade is really nice. And I assume you put this in the shelf. You said, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I'll go last. I'm also going to put this on the shelf physically too, which is weird to say for a comic. But this blew me away. Like, I came when we first read Sandman 2-3 years ago. I didn't interest me, didn't care for it. Then we read the second volume. Like, all right, this is better. I think I shelved it, but it's really like the third one, the fourth one, the show. Like, I'm all on board now with Sandman. Like, it's great. So stay tuned for more Sandman. I'm definitely impressed for it. Something I had absolutely no interest in until recently. Now I can't. Yeah, very, very cool. All right, and Chris, where can people find you at?
You can find me on yourstupidminds.com. I don't know when this episode will release. But
November.
Recent episodes of Your Stupid Minds, we've done Dracula Untold, if you want something spooky. We did House by the Cemetery, a Fulci movie, if you want something more horror-like and bizarre. And we have a whole back catalog of weird, strange films that we've reviewed that you can check out. You can also check out Some of My Friends Read Comics, which is our comics read-along book club, where we have covered, I think we're one in front of you. I think we've covered this trade in Sandman. I don't know if we're past that.
Okay, that's cool. Because that's actually how we first met, because Vincent, friend of, on your show and friend of this show, has like, oh, you should talk to my buddy Chris. And I'm like, all right. And then kept going.
Yep. So, and here we are.
All right. And if you enjoyed this show, you can check out over 350 other episodes, over 380 actually, could be getting close to 400 depending on when you hear this. So definitely go check out our giant catalog. We do comics, movies, video games, we do TV seasons sometime. We do all sorts of stuff. Go check out our gigantic catalog of episodes. You can't find what you're looking for on Spotify, iTunes. Everything is on Podbean. Also, going to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro courtesy of Helena at Hell Hasphere. You can follow her on TikTok. She made our music. And also want to give a shout out to my buddy Bill Tucker, who did the MCU roundup with me, where we covered all 20. We've done 24 of the movies so far. I started in the next phase 4, and I can't get myself to go farther yet. So, but he's done all those with me. He started his own podcast, The Gamer Looks at 40. Check him out. Also, we have a Patreon. If you want to support the show for little as a dollar, we do Patreon polls every month for different episodes, so feel free to go vote in that and check that out. I don't know what it will be this month because I don't know what's going on yet for November. But definitely go check that out. And we have a Discord. Join our Discord, chat with us, and please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. We are on YouTube, but audio only. That's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
So long.